In the scenario, most of the nation's smartphones have now stopped working. The nation's internet system has slowed to a crawl, virtually shutting down the nation's financial and transportation systems. A power outage is now spreading across the eastern United States. The news is bad, and it's getting worse.
We are also now receiving alarming reports of significant and growing power outages in major metropolitan areas in the eastern half of the United States.
Utility officials are apparently reporting to the White House that the current issue does have a cyber component. In addition, earlier today, we received reports of explosions at electric power facilities in both Tennessee and Mississippi, which may or may not be related to the power outages.
We've been at this for hours. The public has lost their internet, their phone, cascaded to their power, 10, 11 million people, and they haven't heard from the president. We haven't talked at all, but we've got to bring the Hill leadership down to the White House. This is politically, it doesn't matter what we do. If they don't feel involved, this will kill us, even if we solve this.
We've been talking around this table about utilizing some pretty extraordinary authorities. The Secretary of Homeland Security has said we're in communication with various industries, but that communication has to be very different if we're going to fix this. It has to be directive. And I know the cyber czar over here is telling everyone that we have authority, but we really don't. So we should, I mean, you know, you don't have to sign it, I do. So let's get real about this. So what I would say to Councilor Lockhart is let's take advantage of asking the Hill leadership to come down and let us all join arms around the solutions here.
Approaching a place where the American people would have a serious question about the ability of the president and the government to defend the country. And that's why I want to raise the issue whether there is an argument in favor of simply putting everything we have in the military domain out there, whether it is National Guard or regular military troops, that we put them in cities to make sure we don't have disorder and violence. We put them in critical infrastructure. If necessary, we federalize the Guard if the governors don't want to go along with it.
You know, I'm getting messages from governors on, whether they don't want the National Guard federalized. Too bad. We don't know enough to know what the solution is. So we have to have solutions across all platforms. So I don't think we should be debating whether we federalize the National Guard. The president should say we are federalizing it if that's the right policy.
One other thing here. The utility company that controls the generation, the emergency generating power at the National Security Agency, has just made a decision to divert that energy for its commercial customers. So let me just put on the table here, unaccustomed as I am, that you may have to nationalize the power companies because we can't have this.
I think the general consensus has been to be quite aggressive and active here. Part of my question relates to Stuart's suggestion about the ISPs and the telecoms is, what are you going to tell the private sector when you say to them, do all these things, help us in all these ways, and they say, well, Madam Attorney General, that's great, but we're going to be in litigation in the courts for the next 5 years. Who's going to pay our legal fees?
And in the current structure of our laws with regard to communications companies, I would have to certify that what they are being asked to do is lawful. Otherwise, they are open to lawsuit. We have to make sure that what we are doing in terms of both the private sector and privacy interests is reasonable, temporary, necessary, and not overreaching. So I wouldn't reflexively go as far as you can go because we're in a state of panic.
Turning first to the Defense Department, looking at this thing, the entirety of what we're facing, explosions, attacks on the power grid, attacks on communications, what do we do from a defense standpoint?
One of the things I would recommend, because of an opportunity and necessity, is the President should call for Congress to approve Cyber Command stand-up immediately.
He can cite the 9/11 attacks as a time when the country put counterterrorism first and foremost. Well, now cyber terrorism has taken that place, and we need to respond with the same sense of purpose and vigor going, not just for the next few days, not just until you get your phone back or the lights go back on, but making sure that we're doing everything we can to resolve their problem. And I think if he can speak broadly and thematically there, that will be the first and important step to restoring confidence.
The fact is, this is going to take us in and out of our borders. The servers may be in Russia, the actual originator may be in Sudan, or may be next door here somewhere in suburban Virginia. So we're going to have to find a way to assemble all the tools in the toolkit. So with that, before I terminate this meeting of the NSC, any other further comments anybody wants to pass on? Well, thank you for your dedication.